Hello, and you're welcome to this session. Did you know that you're supposed to spend only 3 to 4 years if you're doing a bachelor's program in the university? And maybe you're supposed to spend only 2 to 3 years if you're doing a master's program at university. And maybe you could spend around 5 years if you're doing a PhD. However, if you do not do academic research very well, you might end up doing a 3-year course for 6 years. I don't want that to happen to you. And that is why we are here today to be learning how to do academic research the right way. Hello, my name is Alan from Professional Writers, where we specialize in writing all kinds of professional documents, including research proposals, dissertations, theses, project proposals, grant proposals, and all kinds of other professional documents. Today, we are going to be demystifying all those things that they say about academic research. I'm going to be showing you that academic research is the easiest thing among all the course units that you're studying. So you could be a student who is taking your bachelor's degree or your master's degree or your PhD, or you could be someone who just wants to learn how to do academic research. Maybe you can do it for other people, or you can teach other people how to do it, or you can benefit from all the fruits that are around doing academic research. So for today specifically, we are going to be learning how to generate a research topic, how to generate objectives, how to generate research questions, and how to generate hypotheses the right way. So by the end of this session, you will have learned what to do and what to not do, especially when you're generating a research topic, because a research topic is the start and the end of your academic research journey. The moment you make a bad research topic, you are going to make a bad thesis, dissertation, and you're definitely not going to graduate in time. And that's not something that I want to happen to you. So if you've been struggling with research, you've not graduated for a long time, this is your training. So let's get in there and we start to see how this goes. Okay. So let me just make this a little smaller. So what exactly is academic research, if we are to ask ourselves? So you will see that academic research, the term starts from 2 words. We have what we call academic, and we have what we call research. So academic is to do with school, to do with the university, to do with books and reading. And research is to find out something, okay? So this is when you as a student are tasked to find out new information that we did not know about something, but you do it in an academic arena or an academic field. So an academic research is a systematic process of studying a research problem or situation where the intention is to identify facts that help to solve the problem or deal with the situation. Okay, and you'll see that academic research as a whole, the document that you produce when you have finished doing your research can be called a dissertation, or it can be called a thesis, depending on the academic level at which you're on. So normally, every university has a different research guideline. And every time we're going to be working on a research document, I always ask my clients, where is your research guideline from your university? Because this can differ in so many ways. So you'll see that normally many universities have structured their research academic document in 5 chapters. The first chapter being called the introduction, the second chapter being called the literature review, the third chapter called the methodology, the fourth chapter called the results, and the fifth chapter called the discussion. Other universities go ahead and add the 6th chapter, which is called the conclusion and recommendations. But your university could have structured it in a different way, but it is going to contain, this kind of information. All the dissertations are going to contain this kind of information. So the goal is for you to understand the backbone of what you're going to be writing in your academic research. And most importantly, what you're not going to be writing in your academic research. Because at some point, you're going to be told to defend this document. And we are going to be going through all these things, how we arrange our defense material, how we deal with supervisors, how we deal with professors at the defense panel. All these things are going to be covered in our subsequent sessions. So, but today, let's talk a little bit more about a research topic. So, what exactly is a research topic? So, a research topic is a focused subject of investigation that is going to guide the inquiry that you're going to be making. So now, a topic is going to look more like the title of your document. That thing that you want to study about and find more about, what is that topic that you're going to be looking at specifically? And we are going to be looking at what should be contained in a good research topic and what you shouldn't contain, what you shouldn't put in your research topic. We are going to also be looking at examples of good research topics and examples of bad research topics, such that you can look at the research topic and see if your research topic is actually a good one or a bad research topic. And choosing a research topic is one of the most tiring parts of academic research, because this is where you're going to be in back and forth with the supervisor, telling you that you need to change the topic. This topic has been over-researched. This topic does not have good variables. This topic is like this, and we're going to be looking at all those. So let's start with an example of an actual research topic, a very simple research topic. So we can say the impact of employee motivation on performance. So this student or this researcher or this investigator wanted to understand what happens to performance if the employees are motivated. So we want to understand the impact of employee motivation on performance. So that is a research topic. Of course, it is going to have the study area, maybe performance in a certain company, but this is just the major part. So when you look at that, you will see that the research topic is mostly going to have two parts. We are going to have this, what we call employee motivation. And employee motivation is the cause and performance is the result. So you'll realize that we have a result that we call performance. This is the outcome of this cause. So employee performance, we think that if employees are motivated, maybe they will perform better. That is a thought. So you want to confirm that. So you will see that academic research can help us to do so many things. It can help us to find out new information, but it can also help us to prove or disprove information or relationships that we have. So we might think as a researcher that if employees are motivated, maybe they will perform better. But let's do a research and find out. You might be surprised to find out that when they are motivated, they even actually perform worse than when they were not motivated. So then that's about a research topic in brief. And then when you look at a research objective is more like a concise statement that is going to define the goal of the research. And in most research, academic research, the objective is always derived from the topic. So we will see that objectives come in two varieties. We have what we call the broad objective, or the main objective, or the goal of study, or the aim of the study. It is called the broad objective, and it is always derived from the topic. As you can see, the impact of employee motivation and performance, then our broad objective is going to be to determine the impact of employee motivation on performance. So we have derived this objective from this topic. The topic is the impact of employee motivation and performance, and the objective is to determine the impact of employee motivation on performance. So that is the main objective. That is what you want to do. So the entire objective is more like, what do you want to achieve when you do the topic? Is you want to determine the impact of employee motivation on performance. So your research should follow a trend which is similar to what we are talking about. Now, this is generally about research topic and research objective. But before you even start to come up with your research topic, there is something that I need you to understand and have it at the back of your mind if you're not going to, if you don't want to mess up your research topic. A research topic can look so good at the start, but if you do not understand what we are going about, what you're about to talk about, what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, you're going to set a research topic that is going to be very difficult to do when you reach at the stage of data analysis and completion of the research topic. So I want us to go back and look at this thing in general. So when you reach here, you will see that a research topic is a research, an academic research follows a pattern. So in broad terms, an academic research can be an observational research, or it can be an experimental research. So what exactly is an observational research? So an observational study or an observational research is when you, the investigator, you are just going to go to the place where you want to investigate and you observe. So observing can mean you sitting there and looking at what people are doing, or it can also mean you are talking to the people and hearing what they are saying about a certain problem or a certain phenomena that is happening. So this is called observational research. The opposite to observational research is called experimental or interventional research. So an experimental study is when you, the researcher, you are going to manipulate the subjects. What does manipulation of subjects mean? Manipulation of subjects is when you're going to introduce a certain intervention and you're going to see if the intervention actually results into the result that you want. For instance, if you think that training of employees, or if you follow the topic that we talked about, if you think that motivation of employees is going to result into performance, you can do it in two ways. You can go to the company, you sit there, and then you see how people are working after they've been motivated, or you talk to them and ask them how they're being motivated and what they think about the motivation. Has it improved the way they work or not? However, you can go ahead and you, the researcher, calls a motivation. Maybe you could say that I am going to go to a company that has 50 employees. And then I'm going to divide the 50 employees into two, 25 and 25. So the first 25, we are going to motivate them, maybe with an allowance. And we are going to tell them, guys, every evening when you finish work, we are going to give you an allowance. The other 25, you're not going to give anything. You're not going to motivate them. And then you're going to watch and see how the performance is being affected. So you as a researcher, you think that the people who have been motivated, the 25, are going to perform better. And the other 25 are either not going to perform at all, or the performance is going to decline. So you're going to conclude with what you get. So it is an experimental study. It is an intervention. The intervention has been caused by the researcher. You have motivated the employees. So it could be motivation, it could be training, it could be anything that you think you can do as an intervention and see its result. So an observational study can be divided further down into two. We have what we call a descriptive study. So it is very important that you understand these terms, because you're going to be using them interchangeably as you do your research design. So this part is going to be written in the methodology section of your research, but it is going to inform the way you're going to get your topic, because if you do not understand this chart, you're not going to get a good topic. So a descriptive study is one in which the researcher aims to only describe the distribution of the variables that they are talking about. If we look at our topic, employee motivation and performance, our variables are employee performance, and another variable is employee motivation, and another variable is performance. So if we if we are going to be describing the distribution of variables, then we are not going to say that our topic is going to be employee motivation and the impact of employee motivation on performance. We could have a topic which is like factors, affecting performance of employees, such that we are going to be describing all the different factors. So you realize that employee motivation is just one of the factors that cause better performance or worse performance. So if it is not done, the employees are going to perform poorly, maybe, or if it is done, the performance might improve. So that is our anticipation. So a descriptive study is one in which the researcher is only going to describe the distribution of one or more of the variables. It's going to become clearer as we go. Don't worry. Then the next thing, the opposite of a descriptive study is an analytical study. So an analytical study is when the researcher is striving to quantify the relationships between specifically two variables. Okay? And the goal is to want to see if a change in one variable results into a change in another variable. For instance, does a change in employee motivation directly result into better performance? That is a question that we are asking ourselves. So if our topic is the relationship between employee motivation and performance specifically, then we are going to call that an analytical study. If we are saying that we want to say the factors that are influencing employee performance, then that topic is going to become descriptive. So you can see that we are, in both topics, we are talking about employee performance. But in the descriptive part, we are not tying ourselves on one independent variable, which is called motivation. No, we want to understand what are those several factors that affect employees' performance. That is descriptive. We are going to describe all the other factors in relationship to performance. If it gets to analytical, we only want to study the relationship between one factor, which is motivation, and another factor, which is performance. So those are two. We are analyzing the relationship between the two. So you need to understand where your topic is going to belong among these two. Okay, so we can go ahead and break down academic research depending on the number of times that we are going to interact with our participants. In other times, we call the participants respondents. How many times are we going to interact with our respondents? If we are going to interact with the respondents once at only a single occasion, then we are going to call this a cross-sectional study. So a cross-sectional study means that we are only going to interact with our people only in a single occasion. The opposite of that is a longitudinal study. So a longitudinal study is when we are going to interact with our respondents for more than one time. Okay? So if you're going to go to the company and collect data that deals with employee performance, and you're going to go there only once, and you're going to interact with a single respondent once and never ask them a question again in the future, then your study is going to be cross-sectional. If you have a plan of coming back, then we call it longitudinal. Okay? So we can even go ahead and describe academic research depending on the kind of information that we are going to collect. And in research, we want to call the information, we can also call it the data that we are going to collect. So if we are going to collect information in form of numbers, maybe we are going to be asking, people, if we give you an allowance, do you think your performance might improve? And then we are going to count the number of people who are saying that if we give them an allowance, their performance will increase. So if we have a company with 50 employees, and then the 40 say that an allowance is going to improve my performance, then I am going to say that 40 out of 50 times 100, and I'm going to get a percentage of the people who think that improving or giving them an allowance is going to result into better performance. So that is when you're counting using numbers. However, you might not want to use numbers and say, I'm going to do what we call a qualitative study. So a qualitative study is when you get opinions of people, because you might not count opinions. So there are topics like when you're studying the experiences of employees in a certain company, okay? Because you cannot count experiences. You can't say that there are 5 experiences here. So experiences cannot be expressed as numbers. So when you're going to collect data that you can't express as numbers, you're going to have it called a quantitative study. Okay? So we want to understand this chart very well, such that it makes a lot of sense to you, because it is the basis from which we are going to create a good research topic. So we can even go ahead and talk about longitudinal studies. So a longitudinal study can also be broken down into what we call a prospective or a retrospective study. So a retrospective study is when you, the researcher, are going to study events that already happened. And these events which already happened can be got maybe from reports or maybe from files. This is information that is already existent somewhere. And it is very important for you to have that, because in certain types of topics, you're going to need retrospective information. And prospective data is when you're going to study things that are hoped to happen in the future. This is always happens when you're doing an interventional study that we talked about, or an experimental study. So you think that something, maybe when you motivate your employees, they're going to perform better. So you can motivate them now and then come back in the future and see their performance, and you see if they have actually the performance has improved. We also have something that we call a case control study. So a case control study is when you study a certain group of a certain population. Let me give you an example. We used to have women. When women get to around 49 years old or 50 years old, they go into what we call menopause. So they stop having their menstruation. So when they stop having that, the hormones in their bodies go down. So when the hormone levels drop, it starts affecting their looks, and they start getting old. They get wrinkles, they get their skin starts looking old. So some women, what they did, they started giving themselves hormonal therapy. They would go and get the hormones and inject themselves with the hormones, such that they keep their skins and they don't look old. So later on, we started seeing that some of these women started developing cancer of the uterus. So at that point, it was still a theory. People were not sure if these people were getting the cancer because of the hormonal therapy. So now, for us to do a study like this, we can have 2 options. We can either register a woman who is starting to use hormonal therapy, maybe if she's 50 years old, and then we say we are going to watch this woman for 10 years, and we see if this woman is going to get cancer of the uterus. You can already see the problems with that 10 years is a very long time, and there are many things that could have changed in the woman's life. And maybe even the investigators, in 10 years' time, don't know what's going to happen to you. But then we could get a group of women who already have cancer of the uterus, and then we can start doing a retrospective study. That's why it happens here. We start studying their lives. Have you ever used hormonal therapy before? So it can help us save time, and also understand that out of the 10 women with cancer of the uterus that we have, how many of them have said that they are using hormonal therapy? So that one can help us group the two, and we see how the problem of hormonal therapy is predisposing our women to cancer. So that's an example of what a case control study can be. So the goal in case control is that you have a group that you are predisposing to the characteristic, and you have another group that you are not predisposing to the characteristic, and then we want to see the result. If I get two groups today, there is COVID-19. I give one group the anti, how do they call it, the antivirus or the antidote of COVID. And then we also give, we get another group of patients that we do not give, and then we see if the effect is going to actually happen. So that's more of a case control. Now, just to go back a little bit, you as a student, where are you going to fall in most cases? The problem with experimental studies is that they take a lot of time. Because for you to, for instance, if you bring an intervention, you should give it some time for you to watch and see how it works, maybe a year or so. So that's why in most cases, many students go for observational studies, because observational studies can easily be done in a shorter period of time. Now, I want to talk about a research question. So a research question is the question that you're going to get from your objectives. So we had our objective, which was saying we want to understand the impact of employee motivation on performance. So the research question is just a question version of that. What is the impact of employee motivation on performance? Now we talk about the hypothesis. So what exactly is a hypothesis? A hypothesis is your position on something, okay? Like if you sit down and think and say, for me, I think that if employees are motivated, they are going to perform better. That is your own thinking. It could be true, it could not be true. So a research hypothesis is the researcher's position on what they think the result of the independent variable is on the dependent variable. So if you think that there is no relationship between motivating people and their performance, you're going to write what we call a null hypothesis. This is when the researcher thinks that there is actually no relationship between the two variables, between employee motivation and performance. That is called a null hypothesis. We also have an alternative hypothesis. That is when the researcher thinks that there is a certain direction in which the employee motivation is going to drive performance. Like here, you could think and say, higher levels of employee motivation are positively associated with improved performance. So we could think that maybe if employees are motivated, they will perform better. So that is also a position on your hypothesis. That's your own thinking. So in your entire research, we are going to be working to see if we either prove or disprove the hypothesis. Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit about the qualities of a good research topic. So a good research topic should be concise, should be short, it should not really be more than 20 words. It should be feasible, it should be able to be done. Some people are very ambitious and they design questions that cannot really be done. So a research topic should be significant, it should be able to help you achieve what you want to get. It should be unambiguous, you should set clear objectives for it, and it should also contribute to new knowledge. And what are the contents of a research topic? A good research topic must have both variables. It must have the independent variable and it must also have the dependent variable, okay? And then it also should have the study population, and sometimes it should have the study area. And we want to also understand what variables actually are. So many people don't understand what variables are. So a variable is a characteristic of interest that you, the researcher, is seeking to achieve. And variables come in majorly two varieties for academic research. We have what we call independent variables that are also called the manipulator variables, and we have the dependent variables that are called the outcome variables. So the manipulator variables in this case can be the employee motivation, and here we can have employee performance. Let's look at some examples of research topics. One in business. So you can have a topic which is like electronic procurement strategies and performance of public entities in Uganda. When you look at this, it might not make sense at first, but it was a trend because it was the effect of employee procurement strategies on the performance of public entities in Uganda. So we trim it and we are like electronic procurement strategies and performance of public entities in Uganda, a case of Ministry of Water and Environment. So we have our independent variable, which is electronic procurement strategies, and the dependent variable, which is performance. Same thing here, management functions and employee performance in Letsego, Uganda. So we have management functions as our independent and employee performance as our dependent. Organizational retention strategies and performance in NGOs, organizational retention strategies as the independent, performance as the dependent. Okay, let's look at examples in healthcare. Experiences of patients diagnosed with breast cancer at Mulago National Referral Hospital. Okay, so if you look at such a topic, you'll see that our experiences are our dependent variable, and diagnosis with breast cancer is our independent variable. Impact of educational interventions on prevention of mother-to-child transmission. So educational interventions are the independent, and then mother-to-child transmission dependent. So as you can see, the topics start making sense as you go on and on. Now, for you to come up with a research topic, you have to first identify a problem in your area, identify a group of people that are affected by the problem, identify possible causes and predisposing factors to the problem, and then define the approach which you want to tackle the research. And it's also called the methodology. So if you follow this one, we are easily going to get a very good research topic. Now, let me talk about common topic styles and their objectives. So you see that we talked about this topic already, and I want to talk about the specific objectives. So we have been talking about the broad objective, the main objective, but we have what we call a specific objective. For instance, if we are saying we want to understand the impact of electronic procurement strategies on performance of public entities in Uganda. So the specific objective will be to assess the impact or the relationship between. So we are going to go to the independent variable and we are going to break it down. How can you break down electronic procurement? We can break down electronic procurement in many ways. We can break down, in electronic procurement, we have things like electronic tendering, electronic sourcing, electronic ordering. They are all parts of electronic procurement. So we can break them down and we have something like the impact of electronic tendering on performance, electronic sourcing on performance, and electronic ordering on performance. And we shall adopt the research questions from these and the research hypothesis still from these, just in the way that we saw earlier on. So same thing is going to happen here, the influence of leadership styles on organizational performance. We are going to divide the independent variable, which is leadership styles, into the different leadership styles. We have transformational leadership style, transactional leadership style, laissez-faire leadership style, and we're going to be studying how each of these has an impact on employee performance. Okay? So if we continue, I want us to look at these topics. And now, since you have learned about what a good topic should look like, we're going to be seeing them and we are going to be thinking of what problems each of them has. Lived experiences of nurses stationed at the emergency department of Kenyatta National Referral Hospital. So when you look at this topic, what problem does it have? Okay. So the first problem that not really a problem, but if you see lived experiences, this is going to be a qualitative study because experiences are going to be only assessed qualitatively. Okay. The effect of employee empowerment on job satisfaction. Anything wrong with this topic? The effects of employee empowerment on job satisfaction. Looks like a good topic to me. Factors associated with the increasing cases of teenage pregnancies. So this is going to be a descriptive study because you're not getting associations between specific variables. This is going to be an analytical study because you're going to be studying the effect between employee empowerment and job satisfaction. Knowledge, attitude, and practices of adolescents towards drug abuse. This one is also going to be a descriptive study. And then when you look at this, the performance of public servants in the Nigerian government, this is a bad topic because if you say the performance of public servants, so what's wrong with their performance? Is it bad or what? So there is no independent variable in this topic. The impact of sensitization on improving hygiene. So this is a good one. The problem is that when you say sensitization, you need to ask yourself, are you going to do the sensitization yourself? Then it is going to make the topic interventional. If you're going to look at sensitizations that have already been done, then the topic is going to stay an observational study topic. So thank you so much for listening to me. And I know that when we are starting, it is always a lot. But as we go on, these things are going to become easier and easier as we go. Thank you so much for attending this session. I want to thank you. We are going to have more other sessions that are in line with what we have just talked about. And if you have any questions, anything that you want to add on, we can talk about that in our research group. I'm going to open it for 1 hour and we shall be discussing. And if you're there and you need help with your research topic or your research thesis or dissertation, we can always help you. But most importantly, we have designed for you a full course that is going to be taking you through how to write academic research. And by the time you finish the course, you'll have also finished your dissertation or your thesis. If you're interested in the course, you can send me a direct message. In the group, my number is always there. It is the admin number, and we can talk and I can put you through the course. Thank you so much. Let's meet.